Let's begin by entering Sketcher and creating a new part named Articulated Rod. Alright, we will enter the XY plane to begin our first sketch. Create two concentric circles, one with radius 12 millimeters and the other with radius 7.5. From this center we have to create a vertical construction line that is 178 millimeters in length. And since we are in a construction line mode, let's create two horizontal construction lines. The first one we'll put up here with length 18 millimeters, and it will be 24 millimeters away from that point, as you see there. Now let's just make sure that this construction line is symmetric about the vertical construction line. So click this endpoint, click this endpoint, click the line, and make it symmetric. Do the exact same thing, just a little further down, making it also 18 millimeters. The only difference being that this construction line has to be 15 millimeters away from this center point. Alright. So at this top point of this construction line, we want to create two more concentric circles, one with radius 17.5 millimeters and the other with radius 12. I'll drag out these dimensions just to make it easier for you to see. Alright, there you have the radii. Alright, let's make a series of 3-point arcs that will make a rounded shape for the articulated rod. Let's click this endpoint on this construction line, click anywhere to the left of it, and then make the last point tangent and concentric to this large radius right here. Make that radius 24 millimeters. Do the same thing for each end of the construction lines you have in this sketch. 24, and repeat the process for the thin end of the articulated rod. The last thing we want to do in this sketch is create two horizontal lines, two vertical lines that will join each end of the construction lines. So there's one and the other. Now this shows the sketch is purple because we have a duplicate dimension. That's simply because this 18 millimeters is getting replicated. So just delete either one and our sketch will be white, and we just have to trim a few lines to get it to how we want. So we'll trim the following lines up here on the fat end and these two on the lower end. Exit Sketcher, and we can pad this to a length of 9 millimeters. Alright, the remainder of the sketch is pretty easy. We just have to enter this surface, go to Sketcher, and create two concentric circles on the thin end. The radius does not matter at this point. So there's one, And so long as we make these circles concentric and coincident with the edges of our solid, we will get the shape that we want. So there's one, and the other. Do the same thing on the fat end of the part. Exit sketcher, and this time we will have to use a multipad. So when you use multipad, you just want to make sure that you're using the right sketch. The right sketch will be highlighted in blue. For the fat end, we want to pad that length to 12 millimeters, and on the thin side should be sketch 4. You want to pad that to 5 millimeters. So let's change our shading just to make it look a little more pretty, and let's enter this surface to position our elongated hole. For this elongated hole, we just use that tool, and we make sure that the elongated hole is vertical with a length of 130 millimeters and a radius of 5. Alright, so to position the elongated hole correctly, we have to use a reference point. So we'll just put a point up here, make it a construction element, and make it concentric to one of the edges of the solid model. And this point, the top of the elongated hole has to be 30 millimeters away from that point, making sure that's a vertical measure of 30 millimeters. And lastly, we just use each edge of the solid model as follows, and the central axis of the elongated hole to make it symmetric and centered. There you go. Sketcher's green and we're good to go. So exit sketcher. There's our sketch. The last thing we have to do is just pocket this to a depth of 6.5 millimeters. There we go, and that is 1/2 of our symmetric part. Just let me check something quick, because this does not look 100% correct. Alright, okay. Our elongated hole has to be 130 millimeters in length, and that's correct, so we're good to go. There's your part. Making sure that you mirror the part first, of course. Using that part in that surface. ISO. And there you have the part.